action. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Zoe, and today I'm going to talk about the books that I read in the month of March. I read a total of 16 books in March. I don't know how that happened. I think that might be a record for me. I'm pretty sure that's the most books I have ever read in any month. I think what probably helped is that I did the readathon by Zoe at the beginning of March, which I read 4 different books. I've also read some comics, some graphic novels, I listened to a couple audiobooks, and I read some manga. So I think that all helped in me reading 16 books in 1 month. I've also been on a really big reading streak since the beginning of the year, and I'm not quite sure why. I just want to read all the time. I do think I'm coming out of that a little bit, and I might be starting to hit a reading slump, which I'm kind of sad about, but it's okay. I'm not gonna force myself to read if I'm not feeling like reading. I'm a firm believer that reading should be completely enjoyable, and if you're not enjoying your time reading, then you shouldn't force yourself to do it. So with all that said, let's just talk about the books that I read this March. The first book that I read in the month of March was Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire. I read this for the 24-hour readathon and loved it. I think I read it in 2 hours. And it's pretty short, as you can see, so easy to get through. This was so good. I've been wanting to read this for a very long time, and I really intentionally picked it up for the readathon so I could just read it all in one sitting, and it was so worth it. I highly recommend reading this in one sitting. This is essentially about a woman who opens up sort of a wayward home for children that have passed through doorways. So think like Alice in Wonderland when she falls down the rabbit hole, or Dorothy when she gets swooped up in the twister and goes to Oz. So these children have passed through doorways, but then what happens when they come home is that they're changed for good because they've experienced something so magical, and then they get brought back to the real world and they don't kind of know what to do with themselves. So this woman has experienced that herself, and she decided to open this home for these kids, and each of these kids have had different experiences passing through these doorways and then coming back. And it's just so original. It's dark. I will say it's dark. It's a bit creepy, but it's just very original. I've never read anything like this. Definitely recommend. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. My next read for the month of March, and I also read this in the readathon, was A Silent Voice Volume 2. This is the second volume in a manga series that I have really been enjoying. I won't give too much away in the second one, but the first one is about a boy and a girl in kindergarten. The girl is deaf and the boy is a big old bully. He's just mean. He's terrible to her, to the point where she actually ends up having to transfer schools. And the rest of the series is basically them grown up, and the rest of the series is kind of the repercussions of that and what the boy struggles with after knowing that he was such a bully, and the repercussions of what happened to him because he was marked as a bully. And it's very, very good. A pretty easy to read manga. I definitely recommend this manga if you're looking to start reading manga. I gave this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read during the 24-hour readathon in March was I Hate Everyone But You by Gabby Dunn and Allison Raskin. This was super fun to read. It's all done through like chats and text messages, and I love that kind of format when I'm reading a book. I love anything that is like told through emails or letters or text. Just a different format is always so refreshing, and I read it for the readathon purposefully because I knew I wouldn't get bored with the form. So this essentially follows our 2 main characters, 2 girls who have grown up best friends in high school, and they go on opposite sides of the country for college. And it's just kind of a funny coming of age story, if you will, of the 2 girls and how their friendship expands and grows and changes and adapts while they both experience college for the first time, especially so far apart. This was definitely light and fluffy and just funny, kind of sassy. I mean, it reminds me of college girls. I think there were times where they were trying to be kind of deep with the revelations that were happening and the changes that were happening. I do feel like it was a bit rushed at the end, so I do wish that those points were driven home a little bit more, but it was light and fluffy and fun to read, and I definitely laughed out loud at some points. It reminded me of going to college myself and my best friend on the completely other side of the country, so I could definitely relate to this book. I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. The last thing that I read in the 24-hour readathon in March was Orange. I have talked about this manga so much, so I'm not gonna go into crazy detail. I even did a little bit of a spoiler-free and spoilery book review on it, so I'll link that down below if you want to check it out. But I loved Orange. If you're wanting to read a really good manga, I cannot recommend this enough. You guys know how much I love this. I love these characters. Go pick it up. This is about a girl who receives a letter from herself 10 years in the future telling her about a tragic incident that might happen to one of her friends if she doesn't follow the directions in the letter to herself, outlining some of her regrets and what she can change. And it's just that kind of story. It's so powerful. It's really good. It's poignant. It's just lovable. It's such a good book. Definitely recommend. 5 out of 5 stars. I love this. So glad I read it. The next book that I read in the month of March was The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This was so fun. I enjoyed reading it. I loved the two characters. I really like the trope of like hating someone and then falling in love with someone. I didn't hate my husband when I met him, but we did not like each other at all when we first met, and lo and behold, we became best friends and then married. So I think my heart just goes out to that kind of story, and that's pretty similar as to what happened here. Two co-workers basically hating each other and falling in love, and it's just cute. It's kind of sassy. It is adult. It's not young adult, so a little bit of warning there, but it's super fun. I really liked the guy character was super supportive of the woman and didn't let his stupid pride get in the way when she was successful, and I appreciated that. And the girl character was super feisty, and I love that she never backed down and she was just completely authentically herself the whole time. This was super fun. I definitely recommend it if you're looking for something fun to read and just like the proposal kind of, like that kind of movie. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. What I read next in March was The Promised Neverland, volume 1 and 2. This is a manga that I have been really liking. So I randomly saw this on Amazon and it just sounded very mysterious and very kind of cool. I really liked the whole orphanage kind of setting. I just find that really fascinating, and that's kind of what this was described as, and that's all I really knew. And I went into it with like, oh, these kids are at an orphanage and they find something cool, and it's much creepier than that. It's very creepy. It's pretty dark. It was way dark. When I like first discovered the dark thing that happened, I was like, what am I reading? What did I pick up? But I loved it. I feel like this is super underrated. I haven't heard of anyone really reading these yet. If you're looking for a new manga to pick up, I definitely recommend these. It's about an orphanage, kids at an orphanage. They don't really know where they came from or their parents or anything like that. And their mom is super sketchy, and one day 2 of the kids discover the mom doing something crazy, and I can't tell you what it was, but it was crazy, and they basically now need to escape the orphanage. So that's following the story. Really just like fast-paced, action-packed, and I recommend highly. I think I've given both of these 5 out of 5 stars. The next thing I read was Orange Volume 2, and this was just as good as the first one. It just continued to follow the story of the friendships, and you just learn more about each one of the characters, and you find out the ending. And the ending was pretty good. Again, I talk about it in that review, so check it out if you want to. I also read this short story at the end of this one. It's like this part is there's like a whole nother manga. It's hard to follow up Orange like with another manga, so I didn't enjoy it as much, and I actually found some of the characters kind of annoying. It was called Hario Astronaut, and it was just about these 2 sisters. They're twins, and kind of them just in high school and following boys that they like, and it just was like so not that good compared to Orange. And it was like, I read it right after and I was just kind of like, okay, that was good. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read in March was Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. And I don't know if you guys already know how I feel about this book, but I also have a review on this book that I'll link below. It was amazing. It's really hard to describe this book for me. I don't know why. It's just so hard, but it's fantastical. I'm sure if you like reading books, you have heard about this book. So because I'm so bad at giving a summary of this book, I'm just gonna tell you to go look it up or go buy it and read it, because I'm sure you will like it. Really good, 5 out of 5 stars. Go pick this up. This is my favorite read of this year so far. The next book that I read in the month of March was The Elite by Kira Cass, and this is book 2 of the Selection series. This is a super fun, fluffy series. I read it on my Kindle 3 years ago, but I got the paperback copy from my mother-in-law during Christmas, and I've just slowly been rereading because it's just, this is such a guilty pleasure read. I think everyone says that, but it really is. People describe it as The Hunger Games meets The Bachelor, and that's kind of what it is. It's basically about these girls who are from different castes in society, like this dystopian kind of society, and they are sent to basically be courted by the prince, and then the prince picks one at the end. There's some politics, there's some friendship, obviously there's a love triangle, because what guilty pleasure romance doesn't have a love triangle, but it's really fun. I enjoyed it. It took me a lot longer to get through this one than the first one. I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read, it was actually an audiobook, and that was Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng, and it was so good. It totally made me want to read more adult fiction, guys. Like, it was very, very good. It was just so refreshing to read a book like this. I really enjoyed every single character. I thought that there were moments that just like really made me think. The ending was very poignant and deep and left me just kind of in this state of thoughtfulness. Man, I really liked this book. I am surprised at how much I did like it, but at the same time I'm not surprised because I have heard so many good things about it. Definitely recommend if you're looking for an adult contemporary, go pick this book up. 5 out of 5 stars for sure. The next thing I read in March was Archie's Campfire Stories. This was just something kind of fun for me to pick up. I love Archie. I talked about this in my graphic novel comics haul. I haven't read an Archie comic in years, but I grew up reading them, and I have such fond memories of just every single character, and I was like, I need to pick one up. I don't know where they sell them, but I'm gonna order one, so I got one from Amazon, and it was really funny. It was good. It was Archie and the gang for sure. I did have some qualms with the structure of the book, the physical book itself. The pages were super thick, and I ended up breaking the spine because I couldn't open the book to read the pages. So it was kind of annoying, but what can you do? I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It was awesome. Next in March, I read Unravel Me by Taheda Mafi. I read Shatter Me right at the end of February, and I was very intrigued. I actually listened to the audiobook, and I was like, this Juliet chick is bugging the crap out of me, but I'm really intrigued by the story and I need to know what happens. So I went to Barnes & Noble and I picked this puppy up, and it was really good. It was much better than the first one. She does get a lot better in this one. I will still say that she did bug me sometimes. Her character like kind of drives me crazy, but I'm just so intrigued by what's happening and the different relationships. I'm not gonna give too much away, but essentially the story is about a girl who can touch people and basically kill them. Like, she just touches anyone, skin to skin, and they did. And then the whole world is just kind of a dystopian disaster, and there's some politics and some rebels and some other people who can do other crazy things. And of course there's just like a forbidden romance and like a triangle, and it was just good. It's really good. I really want to read the third one like very, very soon. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. The second to last book that I read in the month of March was Night Lights by Lorena Alvarez. This was so good. This is a children's book with the most beautiful art. I loved the art so much. It was colorful and pretty, and look at, like, you guys, it's so pretty. This follows our main character, a little girl who loves to draw. And at night, these nightlights come to her and she kind of goes on a mystical journey. It's very magical, very whimsical, super fun. There's a little bit of a creepy twist. I would recommend if you're a parent to read this by yourself first and then read it to your kid, because I was a little creeped out. Like the last page, I was like, what? What just happened? So, a little creepy, but really good. If you're an adult and you enjoy really pretty art, if you really just like fun graphic novels, I strongly recommend picking this up. It's just gorgeous. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Okay, the very last thing that I read in the month of March was another audiobook, and that was 3 Dark Crowns by Kendar Blake. And it was good. I struggle with how I feel about this one. I just finished it on Sunday, so I'm still kind of processing it. It was good. I almost DNF'd it. I was very close to not finishing this book because the first third of this book was so boring and slow. I wanted to die. It was just like mega info dumpy, tons of different characters that I could not keep track of to save my life, different places and settings and magical powers, and I was just like so thrown. This story follows our three main characters, three sisters who were born to be queens. However, only one queen can remain. So one of the sisters needs to kill off the other two in order to be queen of the kingdom. What I really liked about this book was the three sisters and just how different and unique they were. Each of them had different magical kind of abilities. So one was like a poisoner, one was a naturalist, and one was, I don't remember. Why can't I remember what the other one was? A naturalist. Oh, and then like the other one was like an elementalist. So like she could control kind of like lightning and fire and stuff like that, whereas like the other one could control like animals and flowers and stuff like that. And then the poisoner could really do amazing things with poisoning people and have like this immunity to poison. So it was such a good concept, and that's why I was like so excited to read the book. But because the first third of the book was just so boring, I literally was like, I'm not finishing this, like moving on next. And then I don't know, one day I was just like, I'm gonna give this one more chance. And then I started picking up. It got way better towards the end. The last like 2/3 was way better than the rest of the book, and it was redeemable. It actually made me want to kind of finish the series. So I'm definitely planning on picking up book 2. If you like high fantasy, if this book like intrigues you, I would recommend picking it up, but just being aware of the first half of the book because it was pretty slow and info dumpy. And for me, if that's how a fantasy book is, I'm like, no thank you. Because I'm such a character-driven book reader that if I can't get into the characters pretty quickly, I will like lose interest very fast. However, the characters did develop well. I was very intrigued by the ending, and I need to know what happens because the freaking ending was awesome. So I did end up giving that one 3.5 out of 5 stars. Alright you guys, well that is all of the books that I read in the month of March. I had a fantastic reading month. I read a lot of really good books, mostly good books. I didn't have anything that was like a 2-star, I don't think. So pretty good reading month for me. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite book of the month of March was. Tell me what books you read and tell me which one was your favorite because I really want to know, and maybe I can add it to my April TBR. Alright you guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye!